Hi, I'm Sheri DeMaris. Welcome to Macrobiotic. And today I have a wonderful guest zooming into us from Connecticut, Nancy Wolfson Moche. And she wrote this delightful book on vegetables for breakfast. And I tried some of the recipes. They're just wonderful. They had great pictures in the book that you can follow along. And I was just so impressed with all the work that she's been doing in the macrobiotic field for kids and adults. So welcome, Nancy. So nice to have you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with you.
And you're just such a delight. You're so graphic, graphic designs and the photos in this book are so beautiful and easy to follow. And what a cool topic. I mean, most people don't know what to eat for breakfast if they turn vegan or macrobiotic. So it's a great tool to use. And the recipes are very simple and easy to follow.
Thank you. So the reason I chose to write about vegetables for breakfast is because on my macrobiotic journey, when I first started, a lot of things seemed really doable, a lot of lifestyle and diet changes. But adding vegetables for breakfast as an American who had also spent 12 years in Italy, where the cappuccino and cornetto breakfast is pretty standard, that was the part that challenged me the most. And in the end, I feel that that's what really affected great change. I really transformed my whole body. And the reason I started eating macrobiotically was because I wanted to have a child. I was over the age of 42, and Western medicine told me that I was really too old. So I went to see Denny Waxman, who was very conservative and said, I'm not sure that you'll be able to get pregnant, but I do know that we can shift the environment in your body. And I thought, you know what, it'll probably be just a win-win situation because my body needed some shifting. And so I really followed his recommendations 100%.
And I'm so glad, Nancy, I'm so glad that you wrote this book, because for so many years, my friends would all make fun of me that I ate broccoli with my oatmeal. And they didn't understand that, a meal is really a grain and a green. So to make balance. So a lot of people learn that and then they're all confused. What do I do? How do I make a balanced breakfast? So it's really nice that you wrote the book.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes it can feel daunting for people. So I keep my veggies for breakfast pretty simple. Also, we want rising energy in the morning, so a really simple water saute or steam or blanch is the best way to go. I've been blogging about this for several years, and so in my blog I get a little more complicated just to vary things and keep adding on recipes. But my general breakfast, especially in the summer, where I have a beautiful garden, is a simple water sauteed or blanched green.
And today you're going to show us how to do that with mustard greens.
Exactly. So I just picked these mustard greens from my garden, and they are growing so beautifully this summer. One thing about mustard is it grows really fast. So what I'm going to do, I washed them all, but coming from the garden, I'm less careful, and there's a little something. And then I actually like to eat the spines because they give the dish a little bit of crunch. But you can take some of the really hard spine parts off if you like. So the first thing I'm doing here is I'm just boiling a little bit of water in my skillet. I've filled it up maybe 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to add just a pinch of coarse sea salt. And now I'm just going to cut the mustard into sort of ribbons because
Yeah, I heard you
there.
mention the stems. So many of the green vegetables have a lot of minerals in the stems. So throwing those away, you're really throwing, a lot of minerals away that you could
Right.
use. Hmm.
And also the stalk, of course, I like to think of as the spine, and of course these brassicas have a lot of calcium, which strengthens our spine. So definitely, I like to keep them in. And when my water is boiling, which it is, I'm just going to take the greens, put them in, and I'm going to take a wire mesh skimmer. And what I'm looking for is really, I just want the greens to turn a much brighter, more vibrant shade of green. They're going to wilt a little bit. And as soon as they're this really, really intense shade of green, I'm going to take them out.
Yeah, you don't want to do it until they're dark and gritty, like most
Right.
restaurants, or you'll see oftentimes in cafeterias when they're in steaming tables turning darker and darker.
Oh yeah, that olive drab color. No. So as you can see, these are just a gorgeous, bright, bright, bright green. Similar to the cover of my book, but even a little more intense because they're alive, or they were until a minute ago. And so I'm just going to place them in a bowl. And
It's beautiful.
my board. And then you can dress them in so many different ways. You could add a squeeze of lemon. I love to add sumac, which is a sweet citrusy ground Middle Eastern spice.
Oh, nice.
And it just really balances the bitterness of the mustard. And it's also dry, which kind of balances the texture, the wetness of the mustard. And I also pan roasted some pumpkin seeds.
Oh,
If
nice.
you want some protein, you can always add a few pumpkin seeds. I kind of like to put the pumpkin seeds on my grain, and I would probably be eating this with oatmeal or ojia or some brown rice, and so I would probably put pumpkin seeds on the grain. But here you go. And I also have lots of edible flowers in my garden.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm going to take a nasturtium and just place that in the center.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And there you go.
Very nice. And that you could eat, not only for breakfast, you can also serve it as a side dish for lunch and dinner. Because it's so full of calcium and, all the minerals, and actually it really helps your red blood cells.
It cleanses the liver. Yeah, and so for people who say, oh, I don't have time to cook vegetables for breakfast, I say, voila, less than 2 minutes, right?
So easy. Well, I know that you do cooking classes for children. Is this something that the kids will eat, that you find?
So I love that question, Sheri, because everybody always says to me, why don't you just bake with them? Kids love to bake. And the truth is, so what I do is I empower each child to make their own dish, whatever it is we're making. So if we're making even a soup in the winter, each one dresses it, garnishes it in their own way. So I offer them various herbs that they can chop and things like pumpkin seeds. So each child makes it their own. But the thing they love the most is when the entire dish is their own. So they love doing salads. They love doing greens where they can incorporate different greens. And I once had a class, I was teaching a class in Harlem 2 years ago where I decided, okay, we're gonna bake. Today we're gonna bake. And I came in and I thought the kids were gonna just jump and shout when they heard we were baking. And they were like, oh, that salad was so amazing.
Wow, yeah.
And that made my day.
That's amazing. I've had the same experience teaching kids when I was a guidance counselor in kitchens, and they get all excited about the salads and the pickles, and I was like, wait a minute, I thought you wanted sugar all the time. So, just teaching them opens up their world to a whole other dimension, gardening and Jamie Oliver used to say, like, some kids don't even know what a rutabaga looks like or a turnip. So it's really important that you're teaching these kids how to eat well and how to cook well.
And I play a lot of word games with them. We play with language arts. So with a word like rutabaga, a really fun word like that, I may encourage them to write a poem. Each child makes a cookbook that's completely their own. And so if they're really young, they decorate the recipes, but if they're older, they may write poems. I give them worksheets. We work with math, we work with food science. So it really shows them how cooking and food is so interdisciplinary. And the other thing about teaching kids is they bring it home. They bring it home to their families, which is really wonderful because as people know who have kids do sort of rule. And now teaching virtually, I miss the live part and I miss interacting with kids. But the good news is they cook a meal for their whole family. So the whole family gets to see what a macrobiotic meal looks like and tastes like.
Oh my gosh, that's so
really
beautiful.
gratifying for me.
That's so wonderful. I know when I taught at Whole Foods, for my book signings and stuff, kids would come up and bring their parents and say, now that you taught us how to make spring rolls, we make them every Sunday, and here's my mom, and she's buying all the ingredients. So I know that they influence their parents a lot when they learn something that they really enjoy. And getting them to cook, they'll tend to eat it versus you trying to create it for them and put it on their plate and having them push it away.
That is such a good point, Sheri, because when kids come to the table to cook, they say, this is going to be the most delicious dish ever. And it is. When I used to work with really little kids and we would do some baking, things can drop on the floor. And, I always say cooking is part art and part science and baking is mostly science. But it didn't matter. Everything turned out delicious.
And they loved it.
The opposite happened with adults who come and say, I've been cooking for 20 years and I've never made anything delicious. And I say to them, you know what? You won't unless you change your approach.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what I work on with adults, is really to get them excited about the ingredients and the potential.
So nice. Well, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to you more about your programs and your teachings and more about your book as well.
Great.
I want to be a contender. I want a warm belly to sleep on.
A big house.
How do I look? Do I look good?
I want to play hard.
My nails done once a month.
I want
I want a home. I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. The show is about looking for people who are in competitive businesses that are doing something different and unique in the world of sales and marketing. Join me right here on Rainmakers Roundup on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. and then again on Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. right here on RVN TV.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacqueline. Take charge of your life personally, financially, and professionally. Visit drjacqueline.com to book an appointment today.
Hi, welcome back. I'm with Nancy Wolfson Moche, author of Vegetables for Breakfast from A to Z. And she just made us a beautiful mustard green dish with a gorgeous flower in the middle. And we're talking about some of her work with children. So Nancy, when you teach the little kids, how do you use knives with the little children?
So first of all, it's case by case because some children at 4 may have really good small motor skills. Mm-hmm. So I often use various knives with various kids, but I use a really simple knife with kids. I always use a knife with a rounded edge so they can stay safe. And the main thing is I teach them the motion that you would use no matter what kind of knife you're using, and what kind of santoku. And I teach them the really important habits about knife skills, like always having a sponge and cleaning your knife in between ingredients and cleaning your board. And they love this, they love things that have some sort of whimsy. So this is a little dog with an eye. And then, first of all, a lot of kids stay with me for many years. So if they start at 3 or 4, by the time they're 5 or 6, they're ready for this children's santoku knife, which again has a rounded edge. And they love working with a knife like this. I mean, if you're 5 or 6, this is a big knife. And again, they've really learned the motions, and there's nothing like cutting something really beautifully to give you great satisfaction. So I really work a lot with knife skills with kids. And then as they get older, they begin to be able to use like any of the knives that I use. I find with middle school kids and teens, they love a knife like this because it really looks professional. It has a plastic handle. They're not that expensive, and they just adore working with them. So like any of us.
Wow. So the middle schoolers use the sharper knives.
Love using it.
How can kids sign up for your program? How can they have access to get a class from you?
So now they can go to my website, yourbecauseyoueat.com, and there's a page called Virtual Events in which I list them. So I do work directly with some schools, but right now that we're all virtual, most of my events are open to anyone, anywhere, which is one thing I love about
that. Is so wonderful. So any child can sign up for your classes right now.
Right. So I do something called Supper Club on Tuesday nights. It's from 4:30 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'm getting some California kids who are making a late lunch or they're making their dinner in advance for their family so that it's all ready. So for them, it's 1:30 to 3. And they have dinner all ready to go.
I want to sign up. That's so exciting. So we have some photos.
Sheri.
We have some photos of you in the kitchen, juicing a lemon, looks like. And is this one of your classes that you're teaching? And then also putting some things in a blender. I love the kitchen and the colors. The colors in your kitchen are beautiful. And then this beautiful salad. It looks like a rainbow salad with carrots and parsley and
watermelon radish. That one's in my book.
Gorgeous.
For watermelon radish.
That is gorgeous. So many great colors in your book as well. So I also hear that you do adult classes as well. How can adults sign up to take classes with you?
Same page on my website, yourbecauseyoueat.com, at virtual events. So I've been teaching some breakfast cook-alongs where I get mostly adults. It's not that early, 8 a.m., but it's early for middle school kids and teens. So all of the events are listed on my page, virtual events on my website. And I teach when I teach live, I teach intergenerational classes too, and that's really, really fun.
Oh my gosh, so you're teaching a lot. And how can people get your book, order your book?
Thank you for asking. So it's available on my website. There's a page called Book. And you can also order it directly from me. It says Buy Direct. And when you order it from me, you get a plantable bookmark that is made of lettuce seed paper, and it will actually grow into lettuce that you can harvest. And I'll sign it if you click on Buy Direct. But it's also available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble and through Itasca, my distributor, Itasca.
Do you plan to write any more books?
So I love that question. Yes, I do. I want to work on, I have written a few books for children that that end with a recipe, that are a story that ends with a recipe.
That is so amazing. And I think many people need to hear your own story about really having children and be able to, the fertility issues and problems are so prevalent right now across the world, with women trying to have children and not being successful because of their dietary habits or past medical interventions. So giving them hope that you can clean up your diet and possibly, heal that condition, I think is a wonderful, wonderful story, something that a lot of people need to hear.
So that's another thing I do is I work with women who are trying to conceive privately, and I see more and more that they're women of all ages. So in my case, I was at an advanced age, but I work with women who are in their 20s and 30s who are also challenged this way, and I find that by making some changes, some shifts in diet and lifestyle, because as you know, it's just as much about how you eat as what you eat, they're successful.
So what kind of lifestyle changes do you recommend usually for them?
So the biggest thing is eating regular meals sitting down. That's huge. So many people eat standing up and running, and I think this is an opportune moment to change your habits because most of us are at home, so we have a little more control. So the main thing is eating 3 regular meals a day at regular times, at the times when our body is most able to digest and metabolize food, and finishing to eat 3 hours before bedtime. So the 9 o'clock dinner doesn't work. Those are really big changes for a lot of people. And then, as you mentioned earlier, eating a grain and a vegetable, a whole grain and a vegetable with every meal.
Which
because
some
our
people
society has been telling people not to eat carbs, but they don't mention that whole grains are really, really important.
And most people think whole grains is whole grain or whole wheat bread. They're not aware that, of using brown rice and quinoa and millet and barley, all really great for you with lots of fiber and B vitamins. So that's a whole new world most of the time when you teach cooking to people that opens up. And then, like you said, adding the green, especially at breakfast, is really important.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a taste of this because I'm just smelling it and I can't resist. So the other thing is, you could sprinkle it, you could drizzle a little shoyu on top.
And shoyu, just so people know, is more of a naturally processed soy sauce without the caramel colorings and the added chemicals And it's a really nice salty seasoning, but not too salty.
So these are so delicious and so fresh, and they made me realize the thing I love, one of many things I love about mustard is it really encourages you to chew. And chewing is another lifestyle change that's really, really important and transformational. So these are, they're very chewy. So chewing like 50 times with a small mouthful of mustard greens is totally doable.
I'm sure the kids enjoy doing that too, practicing.
Kids love it.
Nancy, it's so wonderful to meet you. You've done such great work with people of all ages, and you're so well organized. I think people are really going to enjoy your classes and reading your book. I'm really excited that you're teaching all those children, because I think that's going to influence their parents and really change the direction of their life and their health.
Thank you. Well, I'm such a fan of yours because you've done such great work in all of these fields for so long. So it's really been a pleasure and a privilege.
Thanks. And in this time of the pandemic, I think it's really important for the audience to know how important it is to look at your own immune system and reevaluate what types of food you're taking in, because food plays such a role in your health. I think we're looking for outside answers all the time, and sometimes the answers are right inside of us. So taking a simple cooking class from Nancy, learning about growing your own vegetables, being more creative, especially with your breakfasts, setting them up, is really important at this time. Nancy, any other closing thoughts, anything that you want to just share with the audience in terms of your teachings or what you've learned through this whole journey of macrobiotics?
Well, I think you just said it. I think one thing I've learned is that often the solution is really right in your own body and in your own kitchen. And one thing I've noticed in counseling people is they often ask what they need to buy. And I always tell them that you need a very simple kitchen, really, to make this delicious food. So it's more about the work that you need to do in terms of planning your meals and reframing each meal than running out and buying something. And this is the perfect time to not run out and buy something, right? I think all of us are at home, working with what we have and really enjoying it and seeing it in a new way.
It's interesting because most people like to fill their kitchen up with lots of gadgets, and I find that just crowds you up in your kitchen, when really just having a gas stove and clean water and even a handheld blender are really simple little tools. Yes. Well, thank you for coming on our show. We so enjoyed you. We're looking forward to your next book and to hear how some people are enjoying your classes. So stay in touch, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Sheri. It's been a pleasure.
And join us for another episode of Macro Magic.